Okay, you guys, join me as I read Chapter 16 of The Coldest Winter Ever by Sista Souljah. There are some major trigger warnings on here, including essay of a child and of a male. So there may be sometimes you may need to fast forward or pause. Take care of yourself first.
The Coldest Winter Ever, Chapter 16. I found myself seated in the hotel bar. I didn't have no thoughts, 'cause my brain was shut down or frozen or something. I didn't even know what city I was in. I was able to hold off the waiter who at first was pressuring me to buy a drink. I told him I was waiting for my boyfriend who had a room in the hotel, but was running late. After 1 hour, that excuse was exhausted, so I gathered my bags and walked out the front door of the hotel. The hotel was situated right off the highway. I could hear the cars passing behind the wooded area that separated the hotel from everything else. As I stepped out into the street, I looked to my left and saw nothing but trees. About a half-mile up there was a traffic light. Complete silence. To my right there were more woods, no stores, pay phones, no sign that people even lived there. As the winter chill cut through my light red leather jacket, I clapped my hands together to keep them from stiffening. When you have some place to live, you don't think about the weather too much. Bracing the reality that I had nowhere to go, I realized that it was me versus nature tonight. As I thought of every person I had ever known, my list of who could help me out added up to almost nothing. I had a brainstorm and ran back inside the hotel. I sat in the telephone booth and tried desperately to remember Sterling's phone number. Calm down, don't panic, I told myself. You know what Daddy says, but it was useless. When I relaxed enough to recall the number, I dialed it and got the stinking operator's voice. This number has been changed to a non-published number. In a rage, I kicked the folding telephone booth door and injured my own toe. In the hotel bathroom, I removed my red skirt, white shirt, and stockings. Pulling my jeans, polo shirt, and Clarks out of the Nike bag, I got dressed to be more comfortable for the unknown. Leaning against the mirror, I realized that not only was my diamond jewelry that Daddy gave me and all my money gone, but so was my box cutter. I felt naked without a weapon. I was taught that a girl should always have a razor, switchblade, box cutter, needle, mace, or a burner for her defense. Remembering a Brooklyn specialty, I pulled out a pair of socks from my Nike bag and headed out the door. Across the street where the woods lined the outside of the highway, I filled my extra pair of socks with big, sharp rocks. Squatting down, digging in the dirt separating the rocks, the voice in my head said, "This is it." Packing the socks in my pocketbook, I headed back to the hotel bar. There was no plan. Everything was spontaneous. I didn't know what to do now, but I would know when the time was right. In all the movies I had ever seen, the bartender is always the one with all the information. So I ordered a ginger ale to purchase the right to sit on the bar stool and talk to him. "Do you live here?" I asked him. "Sure do. It seems like a small place. I'm from the city." "It's a great town, Teaneck. We're part of Bergen County, the third richest county in the country." "Is that right?" I acted casual, unimpressed. "We've got great shopping malls just a short way down the highway. That's where all the restaurants are, too. You like dancing? There's a few clubs out here, but mostly people party at the bar scenes." "Do you have homeless people?" I asked him. "What?" he responded, a little puzzled. "Ordinary question for a New Yorker," I smiled. "Our homeless live better than I do, and I work. When you live in a town where people have money, there's a lot of charity. Practically, any church could point you in the right direction." "Hey, you're the most glamorous homeless person I ever saw," the baby-faced white boy said. We laughed. He was just passing the time, but I was taking in everything that surrounded me. Every customer was important. I watched the opening and closing of the cash register, and the woman playing the jukebox. There was an elderly woman who entered the bar 45 minutes later. She caught my interest. She was wearing a Versace blouse, ugly but expensive earrings, and some fine slacks. As she sat down at the bar and ordered a Bloody Mary, she fumbled with her wallet and accidentally dropped some loose $20 bills on the bar top. When she gathered them up to put them back inside, I saw about 7 different credit cards. Her hands kept moving like she had that shaking disease. It only took seconds to catch the pile of diamonds on her wedding finger. The slim driving shoes by Gucci, with a leather patch at the heel, were being wasted on her old feet. I tried to guess what she had in the Nordstrom's shopping bag underneath the tissue paper. "I guess your boyfriend's a real jerk," the waiter said to me. "It's either that or he's some kind of NBA player. You know they stay here sometimes. What kind of guy other than a superstar could leave a beautiful girl like you in the bar alone?" All right, all right. Don't tell everyone," I teased him, gathering my stuff and waving goodbye. It was only 20 minutes later that the old lady came out into the parking lot. When she saw me emerge from behind the side wall, she was startled and placed her wrinkled hand over her heart. "I'm sorry," I said in my most pleasant voice. "It's just me from the bar." "Oh, not to worry," she chuckled nervously. As she clutched her bag, zigzagging in between this car and that car, I walked behind her. She was chatting about the cold weather and how she always misplaces her car when she parks. "I do that too," I told her. "But a young girl like you shouldn't have a memory problem." When she reached the Jaguar, parked right beside the shrubbery, I laughed. "What a coincidence. That's my car right beside yours." We both turned our back to one another. Me to get my keys out, her to place the keys which were already in her hand in the lock. In a split second she didn't know what hit her. It was my stone-filled sock up against her head. She withered like a flower and fell to the ground. I had $200 in cash, 1 credit card, the American Express gold card, 2 diamond rings, and those Gucci shoes. I was on my way. Lucky for me, I was smart enough to leave her car and that Nordstrom bag right there. I didn't run or nothing. I just walked up the pathway alongside the woods. The bartender had told me how to get to the bus. On the highway route, I discharged at the Holiday Inn. It was $60 for the night, which was more reasonable for me at this time. After a long hot shower, I sat on the bed with the pillows behind me. For some reason I couldn't settle. I could not sleep. I pulled out those letters. I would read them all. I would find out Midnight's address. Maybe I would go wherever he was. He was the only link to my past, the only free person I could trust right now. May 1993. Dear Bilal, when I first saw you in the library at Columbia University, I assumed you were a student. I'm sure you didn't notice me. There were many reasons why I noticed you. 1, you were reading Hadith. Secondly, you just had a powerful presence. Now this may sound odd, but I watch everything and everybody very closely. It's my way of learning to understand life and people. Most of the brothers at the Columbia campus have no presence at all. In fact, it's as if they made a conscious effort to reduce themselves so no one would find them offensive, too black or too strong. Even the brothers who are not introverted are not like men. They are like children or caricatures. They play games they should have left behind many years ago and find it extremely difficult to focus on anything that is not of a required academic nature. So there you were, mature, black, and yes, beautiful. I didn't disturb you because you seemed perfect as you were, uninterrupted. I knew if I did not stop to say what's up or to introduce myself, I might not ever see you again. After all, I am not a Columbia student and am only on the campus once a week. But still, I let it go. After not seeing you for a couple of weeks, I was surprised to notice you heading toward me with Phil, the Columbia student and volunteer in the children's program where I teach. When finally he introduced us, it seemed that we barely said peace to one another. Yet we looked into each other's eyes, forgetting to drop hands from our initial shake. I'd be lying if I said I was surprised when Phil asked me if he could pass you my phone number. Before giving it to him, I asked him your age. He said you were 22. He volunteered that you were not a student, just a friend of his from Brooklyn. When I asked him what you do, he fumbled around for a few seconds, then said that you were a mechanic. If I came off cool when you called, my voice hid my real feelings. Inside, I felt everything shift. On a usual day, I am so unimpressed with everything and everybody. It seems every word shared between a man and a woman has already been said, and nothing could be done that I didn't already see. and nobody means what they say anyway. So it didn't really matter. Yet as we talked, I felt my breathing intensify, a sign that I'm still alive and capable of feeling. I felt you watching as I taught my students on the day we agreed to go out after class, and you arrived early. At the cafe, after debating with you about whether there is hope for a new uprising among today's youth, the thing that stood out most in my mind were your hands. On one side they were dark and strong, long and thick. On the other side they were soft with deep colored lines. Your nails were clean. I'd even go so far as to say they were manicured, as I noticed their dull shine. When I asked you one-on-one what you do for a living, you responded with the same silence that Phil had. Seconds later, you said you were a businessman. When I pressed, you said you owned a car service in Brooklyn. It probably was the way that you walked, like you owned all of Manhattan, or the way that you talk in a masculine, slow, yet steady way. Or maybe it's the way you place your hand in the middle of my back as I'm walking through a door that you're holding. So figured an auto mechanic and a businessman with a car service were not so far apart. Besides, you even gave me your business card. Because we are both busy, I treasured the time we had after class once a week. I held on to things I wanted to discuss in politics concerning the progress of our people. I knew you would always introduce an interesting angle or unexplored response. Besides, every now and then I get sick of staring into the blank faces of students who could care less about world events, politics, or even people they are not directly related to. So you got inside of me, not physically, but in more intimate ways. You got inside my mind, my thoughts, my spirit. When a girlfriend of one of the sisters on campus said your name was Midnight, I told her she must be thinking and talking about the wrong guy. But she described you so well, knew the car you drive, and said she heard you were involved in questionable activities. Sitting in my bedroom one night, I pulled out your business card. It listed the name of your company, BK Car Service, but nowhere on the card did it say your name, Bilal Jones. The phone number on the card was the same as your home number. When I called information, neither your name or the name of your car service was listed. I confess that I went to the address on your business card. There was no car service. It was a mailbox place. So here I am, reviewing everything in my mind, knowing in my subconscious that a man with such a sensual level of confidence about everything, a trait which has been erased from so many black men, had to have some kind of tragic irony to him. I flipped through the scenes of our 2.5-month emerging friendship. Despite my sweet addiction, I have decided to end it. I'm writing to you because it's easy for me this way. I cannot be deceived or seduced by the passion and strength of your voice. I cannot be persuaded by the power of your reasoning. I will not call you. I ask that you don't call me either. As this class ends this week, you will not see me anymore. I see no reason to know you, to continue if you are involved in what I suspect. In fact, it makes you so typical and undesirable to me. Sista Souljah, all a man has is his business. Without it, he has nothing. Women are confused. The same things you love are the same things you hate. Have you ever seen an aggressive, confident man with broke pockets and no business? If you did, you would not remember him. If you remembered him, you would not respect him. You could have just bounced and not said nothing, no goodbyes. You said something. So what we have between us must not really be over. If I don't see you now, I'll see you later. But I will see you. Bless. July 1993. Peace, Souljah. You are always on my mind. Even when I try to push you out, you're on my radio or on somebody's television. So you're holding out on me. I'm surprised. I just knew I would hear from you. I even bet myself it would be a week to 10 days after I dropped you a line, but nothing since. So the strong girl thing isn't an illusion. You were right about one thing. Everything being said by the women I date has already been said. Everything being done, I already did. As you put it one time when we was chillin', what's the sense in fapping an empty-headed girl? It's like flipping a hole in the wall. I know I bugged you when you said it. I didn't even consider it seriously. But now that it's been brought to my attention, I find myself tripping over the words we shared, the thoughts we exchanged, and your pretty smile. I miss you. Give a man a break. Missing you. Beloved. September 1993. Peace. Midnight. I reread your letter. You said you like to watch people. That's how you get your understanding of life. Well, I live in these streets. That's how I get my understanding of life. The hard way, the real way, a man's way. I heard you talking about Black unity the other night on the radio. Look, Souljah, I dig you, but you're fooling yourself. These ain't never going to be unified. You put all your time into organizing night, as yet you lock out the Nye who's real with you, me. What do you want from me? Can I live? Are you better than the Nye, as you supposed to be helping? You put yourself in a position to judge. Only God can do that. I want to see you. I know your Columbia classes start up again next week. I'm coming to check you. Peace. Midnight. September 1993. Dear Bilal, it's funny how the same thing a man loves is the same thing that he hates. What makes me stand out as a woman is that I have non-negotiable principles, strength, and faith in my people. From the time that we shared, you seemed to love that, admire it even. Now you hate it because my ways have isolated you. The truth is, you've isolated yourself. I move on a vibe, a combination of what I see, think, learn, and feel. If I was to move strictly on feeling, I'd get myself into a whole lot of trouble. I already did that when I was 18, 19, and 20. Now I'm 24. I've learned a lot because that's what we're all supposed to do. Only a complete asshole would keep repeating the same old mistakes and blaming it on something else. Hell, we have all had it hard. It may not seem like it, but I grew up in the projects. I lived in poverty. I didn't have no father in my house. I'm not asking for sympathy. Every Black face has a story, many times a gruesome story, but we have to get over it no matter how bad it might be. We have to recreate our families and build our communities again. It may seem hopeless. Many times I get depressed, but I move on because I have to. God requires this from me. I do know something. Where there are drugs, there can be no love. There can be no family. Drugs rob every person, man, woman, and child of their beauty. Drugs turn people into animals who can only respond to instincts. Drugs are so powerful they eradicate the God in both the taker and the giver. I have worked with prisoners incarcerated in New York, New Jersey, and North Carolina. Hundreds, thousands, and millions of drug-related convictions. The contradiction, maybe I'll find out after death, is that behind those walls seem to be the majority of Black men, and increasingly women. The tall, the dark, the beautiful. But how do we get men and women before they are hunted like foxes and trapped like rats and treated like ants to understand the concept of unity? Working. I reread your letter. You said you like to watch people. That's how you get your understanding of life. Well, I live in these streets. That's how I get my understanding of life. The hard way, the real way, a man's way. I heard you talking about Black unity the other night on the radio. Look, Souljah, I dig you, but you're fooling yourself. Nias ain't never going to be unified. You put all your time into organizing, as yet you lock out the Nia who's real with you, me. What do you want from me? Can I live? Are you better than the Nye, as you supposed to be helping? You put yourself in a position to judge. Only God can do that. I want to see you. I know your Columbia classes start up again next week. I'm coming to check you. Peace. Midnight. September 1993. Dear Bilal, it's funny how the same thing a man loves is the same thing that he hates. What makes me stand out as a woman that I have non-negotiable principles, strength, and faith in my people. From the time that we shared, you seem to love that, admire it even. Now you hate it because my ways have isolated you. The truth, you want to know who I am and what I'm about and how I'm living. You want the truth. My name is Bilal O'Day. My mother and father and I were born in the Sudan. They raised me to understand love, honor, respect, loyalty, and family. Then my father was killed by tribalism in a war for what men want, power, control, land. Just so you be clear, my father was killed by Black men, African men. Me and my pregnant mother came to this country when I was 7. From the minute I arrived, I had to fight. Nia's disrespecting my name, disrespecting my accent, disrespecting my clothes. While holding my ground, I got rid of my accent, my clothes, and even my name. I found out quick what brought respect, and I schemed to get it. In the hood, I've been fed up by Black cops and white cops. Why? For no reason. Except the cops is a tribe, and they fighting for a piece of the action as well. I got into my body, working out, judo, taekwondo, all of that. I learned everything I needed to know about burners, all kinds. One afternoon, I'm walking down the staircase to get my little sister from the babysitter's house. I was late. The elevator was broke as usual. Now this big nay around my way named Lance, a dude 3 times my size who had banged me up more than a couple of times, had my 8-year-old sister pinned against the wall with her panties down and his dick in his hands. I'm wondering what this mother fur is doing, 'cause she ain't got titties, curves. Nothing yet. When I called out his name, he turned around and charged at me. He had the same face on that he did the last time he almost broke my jaw. So shot him right between the eyes. At 14 years old, I was convicted of manslaughter and incarcerated. I didn't read about it. I didn't go to jail to give a speech. I was a prisoner. The whole time that this was going on, my mother was praying, crying, being emotional, and going back and forth to work 10 hours a day. You know what she wanted? The same thing you wanted: peace, unity, happiness. But that's not what was happening on the streets. Inside, I was stomping with the big dogs, imprisoned with grown men due to prison overcrowding. What was going down? Tribalism wore over anything: the toilet, the phone, cigarettes, space to breathe. As Neas versus Rick, Decepticons versus Bloods, Neas versus Aryans, the Latin Kings, whatever. Everybody had a crew. My mom's came more than once a week, kept my commissary stacked. Anything I asked for, she brought it. Sneakers, gear, whatever. All she did was work and save. Point blank, she would have done anything for me. It was 7 p.m. when they came for me. 6 big grown-ass men. I fought like a warrior, but they still left my ass ripped open. 20 stitches to repair. For 6 months, in addition to the pain of shying. I'm wondering, does this mean I'm a homosexual? My cellmate said, don't worry about it. It's just an initiation. That's what they crew do. You fought back. You held it down. Now they'll look at you like a man. Easy for him to say. He was getting out in 1 more year. I did 5.5 years. On my 2nd year locked down, my mother disappeared. No more letters, no more visits, no more commissary. I called home but never got an answer. Soon the number was disconnected. After hassling one of the COs, who knew I was a good kid who got caught out there and killed a knee-eye the neighbors and even the cops wanted dead, he revealed the truth to me. My mother was arrested. In a state of panic, I cried and laughed like a madman because I knew my mother, a devout Muslim, the type who kept her head wrapped, walked with a prayer cloth, and even stopped to pray at work, would never have violated any law. Upon further investigation, I found out her conviction was for transporting drugs. No matter what kind of rumors I heard about the incident, I refused to believe them. 4 years later, when I was released, the lady next door to our old apartment told me my mother was out of prison and in the hospital. I went straight to her. Son, she told me, I'm sorry. An inmate from your prison told me if I didn't bring him some drugs to the prison on my next visit to see you, they were going to hurt you again. They said when you come home, I would no longer have a son. I'd have a daughter. I didn't know what else to do. They told me if I told anyone, I'd be attending your funeral. I just needed to see your face before I die. Don't cry for me, son. Allah has a place for me. I cannot live here. These are not my people. My mother died trying to tell me about my sister. As she lost her life, the words just wouldn't come out. It took me 4 weeks to find my sister. She had been adopted by a white family. The agency told me I could not see her. I could not think about getting her back until she's 18. Then only if she wants to come to me. My mother left a will. In her 6 years of work in the U.S., combined with the inheritance left by my father, she had managed to save a good piece of money. Even from prison, she was able to keep up her life insurance payments somehow. I couldn't collect any money according to her will until my sister turned 18. It was placed in a trust under my sister Eve's name. After my release, I searched for work for 6 months. The one line they gave me on every job application to explain. Have you ever been convicted of a felony? If so, please explain didn't work out. How do you explain murder? It just runs people and employers away. The man who took me in when I was jobless and homeless has been like a father to me. For that, he has my eternal loyalty. In my youth, I was taught that if someone saves your life, you owe them your life, with steady work, good money in my pocket, a roof over my head, and all the things a man needs to be more than invisible in this world. I stand firm on my 2 feet. You cannot teach me to be a man. You may know a lot, but you know nothing about that. I'm drawn to you, Souljah. I hope you know how to take this. You remind me of my mother. There is something so pure about you, so beautiful. I respect your mind, your body, the whole package. If I could possess you, I know my mother would smile down on me. But could you think about me and you instead of the whole world? Could you think about me? All of October 1993 midnight. I'm sorry about your mama. During the months that we spent together, I noticed how sometimes you would be so alive and talkative. Then suddenly you'd fall into a strange silence. I figured there was a very personal story behind that silence. In time, I told myself you might confide in me. It just so happens that time is not on your side. It seems you want me to care about your feelings and your family. Yet and still, in your line of work, you don't care about anyone's feelings or family. What makes your mama so important when you would sell crack to someone else's mama? If I dared to love you, my mama, my family, my life would be in jeopardy. It is only a matter of time before you will pay for your wrongdoings. To every action there is a reaction. When it comes back to you, the depth of your tragedy will be even greater than the wrongs you perpetrated. How do I know it is the law of nature? It applies to every human being. Because I love myself, my family, and have worked very hard to do the right thing in my life, I don't want to be standing next to you when the walls come tumbling down. And they will tumble. It's ironic that a young male who had so much more than some young blacks in America, a father, a country, a culture, would end up in the same low-life business that killed his mother, with the same attitude that murdered his father. So you say it's about your survival, huh? If that were true, you would have quit after you accumulated some loot. Maybe started a little legit business, rescued your sister. But no, the money is in your blood. The money is your God. It's all about the Benjamins. So call it what it is. In life, people make choices. We pay for every little choice we make. You traded everyone else's life for yours. Traded my life for everyone else's. We don't belong together. Drugs is a government game, Bilal. A way to rob us of our best black men, our army. Everyone who plays the game loses. Then they get you right back where we started, in slavery. Then they get to say, this time you did it to yourself. I won't play that game. SF February 1994, Souljah. It's been a long time. Every man moves at his own pace. I'm free to call you now on your terms. Now there is no reason you shouldn't accept my call. 4 years later, when I was released, the lady next door to our old apartment told me my mother was out of prison and in the hospital. I went straight to her. Son, she told me, I'm sorry. An inmate from your prison told me if I didn't bring him some drugs to the prison on my next visit to see you, they were going to hurt you again. They said when you come home, I would no longer have a son. I'd have a daughter. I didn't know what else to do. They told me if I told anyone, I'd be attending your funeral. I just needed to see your face before I die. Don't cry for me, son. Allah has a place for me. I cannot live here. These are not my people. My mother died trying to tell me about my sister. As she lost her life, the words just wouldn't come out. It took me 4 weeks to find my sister. She had been adopted by a white family. The agency told me I could not see her. I could not think about getting her back until she's 18. I could not think about getting her back until she's 18. Then only if she wants to come to me. My mother left a will. In her 6 years of work in the U.S., combined with the inheritance left by my father, she had managed to save a good piece of money. Even from prison, she was able to keep up her life insurance payments somehow. I couldn't collect any money according to her will until my sister turned 18. It was placed in a trust under my sister Eve's name. After my release, I searched for work for 6 months. The one line they gave me on every job application to explain, have you ever been convicted of a felony? If so, please explain, didn't work out. How do you explain murder? It just runs people and employers away. The man who took me in when I was jobless and homeless has been like a father to me. For that he has my eternal loyalty. In my youth, I was taught that if someone saves your life, you owe them your life, with steady work, good money in my pocket, a roof over my head, and all the things a man needs to be more than invisible in this world. I stand firm on my 2 feet. You cannot teach me to be a man. You may know a lot, but you know nothing about that. I'm drawn to you, Souljah. I hope you know how to take this. You remind me of my mother. There is something so pure about you, so beautiful. I respect your mind, your body, the whole package. If I could possess you, I know my mother would smile down on me. But could you think about me and you instead of the whole world? Could you think about me? Bilal, October 1993. Midnight. I'm sorry about your mama. During the months that we spent together, I noticed how sometimes you would be so alive and talkative. Then suddenly you'd fall into a strange silence. I figured there was a very personal story behind that silence. In time, I told myself you might confide in me. It just so happens that time is not on your side. It seems you want me to care about your feelings and your family. Yet and still, in your line of work, you don't care about anyone's feelings or family. What makes your mama so important when you would sell crack to someone else's mama? If I dared to love you, my mama, my family, my life would be in jeopardy. It is only a matter of time before you will pay for your wrongdoings. To every action, there is a reaction. When it comes back to you, the depth of your tragedy will be even greater than the wrongs you perpetrated. How do I know it is the law of nature? It applies to every human being. Because I love myself, my family, and have worked very hard to do the right thing in my life, I don't want to be standing next to you when the walls come tumbling down. And they will tumble. It's ironic that a young male who had so much more than some young blacks in America, a father, a country, a culture, would end up in the same low-life business that killed his mother, with the same attitude that murdered his father. So you say it's about your survival, huh? If that were true, you would have quit after you accumulated some loot. Maybe started a little legit business, rescued your sister. But no, the money is in your blood. The money is your God. It's all about the Benjamins. So call it what it is. In life, people make choices. We pay for every little choice we make. You traded everyone else's life for yours. I traded my life for everyone else's. We don't belong together. Drugs is a government game, Bilal. A way to rob us of our best black men, our army. Everyone who plays the game loses. Then they get you right back where we started, in slavery. Then they get to say, this time you did it to yourself. I won't play that game. February 1994. Souljah, it's been a long time. Every man moves at his own pace. I'm free to call you now on your terms. Now there is no reason you shouldn't accept my calls. Midnight. The Holiday Inn maid woke me up. It was not her knocking at the door. It was her knocking and me not hearing her. Then she used her key to let herself in. My body was stretched across the bed, with envelopes and papers everywhere. When my eyes opened, they attempted to adjust. Before I could get a clear reading on everything, she asked in a Chinese accent, "You check out now or stay one more night?" Damn, what time is it? 12. Checkout time, she used as few words as possible. I got up, walked to the dresser, and picked up the Do Not Disturb sign. Placing it on the outside knob, I glanced over at her. Without speaking, she got my point. Get the FK out. Right now, the daylight was my friend. I needed to use every minute constructively. Not wanting to sleep in the same place twice, I showered, packed my stuff up, and bounced. The bus system was easy. It stopped right in front of the Holiday Inn. It was weird riding a bus that had stops on the freeway, but it was also convenient. The mall was only a 4-mile ride. Seated in the food court, I put my plan together piece by piece like a puzzle. After arranging all the letters by dates, I realized the most recent one, midnight mail to Souljah, was postmarked from Silver Spring, Maryland. All the other letters he sent her were mailed from either Brooklyn or Manhattan. After purchasing a phone card, I asked the operator how I could call information in Silver Spring. "Can I have the number for Bilal O'Day?" I asked. "How are you spelling that?" "We have no such listing, ma'am." "Are you sure about the spelling?" I slammed the phone down, passing the American Airlines ticket counter located right inside the mall. I asked the woman behind the table the price for a ticket to Silver Spring, Maryland. "The closest airport to Silver Spring is Baltimore." "When would you like to fly, ma'am?" The question was so simple yet so crazy. I had never flown anywhere in my life. Now I blurted out. The airline lady laughed. "You would be leaving out of Newark Airport, I presume?" "How far is that from here?" "You can take public transportation from this mall to the airport. It should take about an hour, calculating the stops and all. The earliest flight I could get you on would be leaving today at 5:15 p.m., arriving in Baltimore, Maryland at 7 p.m. this evening." "Is this round trip?" she asked. "No, one way. With one day's notice, one way will be $320.97, tax included. I'll be back." I mumbled. I figured the bus had to be cheaper. All I had was $130 and change. I would also need money once I arrived. The bottom line is I would need much more money, regardless. I would need money to stay and money to go. If I traveled to Maryland, it would probably take me a few days to track midnight down. From the sound of Silver Spring, it was a small town. I checked the obvious places that no one could avoid. The supermarket, the barber, the mall. I'd even go to the post office, the party spots, and ask around. I was sure Midnight had an apartment by now. Some place that was laced with all the finer things in life. He would allow me to stay there with him. I had no doubt in my mind about that. Circumstances were different now. When he left, I had places to stay, or so he believed. Now I had no one to turn to but him. Santiago needed him. Like Midnight said in his letters, a man has his loyalty. After a short shuttle bus ride, I arrived at the Greyhound ticket counter. I was given a schedule for travel to Maryland. The woman quoted a price of $65 one way, which was only $8 cheaper than the round-trip bus ticket. Don't ask me to figure it out. Next to the Greyhound counter was a bus line called Peter Pan. A little Mexican guy handing out coupons called my attention to the place. $25 round trip, the old lady with the "I smoke too many cigarettes" deep voice stated. "I'll take it," I responded with no hesitation. "Let me tell you now, sweetie. This ticket is a special rate. It's non-refundable." I said I'll take it. I didn't know what Maryland had in store for me. I did know that in exactly 1 hour I'd be out of town. I cut across to the deli and grabbed a seltzer and ordered a sandwich for the road trip. The woman said it was almost a 5-hour ride with the stops included. At the magazine stand, I picked up one fashion magazine, Cosmopolitan, and a pack of Butterscotch Lifesavers. I don't know whether my stomach was rumbling from hunger or from the excitement of knowing I was going to see Midnight. I was falling in love all over again after reading Midnight's letters. He was right to make it clear that a man has to make his own choices, handle his business, and whatnot. She was trying to take a good man and turn him into a broke punk, some type of poetic philosopher who's of no use to anyone. I'm sure that by the time he got his finger on the pulse of what was going down in Maryland, he had set up his operation and was watching it grow. I approximated about almost a year had been gone. I bet his connections were right. The bus rolled in 15 minutes early. I grabbed all my stuff to board. The driver swung open the doors. As I lifted my foot to get on, the driver said, "We're not leaving until the scheduled departure time." Aggravated. I stood outside in the cold wind rather than drag all my stuff back into the heated station. The noise was little. Then it got a little bit bigger. I looked left, then right. No one else was close by, so it had to be me. Unzipping my Nike bag, I pushed clothes every which way. Hidden on the inside of a pair of my lingerie was a beeper. Oh, sit, it's Bullet. Damn, what does he want? With 5 minutes left to boarding time, I debated. Call him now, call him later. I gathered my bags and rushed into the station, only to find that all 3 pay phones were occupied. Peeping a businessman with a cheap suit holding a cell phone, I rushed over to him. "Excuse me, mister, can I use your phone?" "It's an emergency." He was reluctant, but I gave him the little girl help look, nervously licking my lips. Still no answer from him, so I repeated myself. "Please, sir, that's my bus right there. It leaves in 5 minutes. I just need to make one call." He handed the cell phone to me. My eyes bounded from the beeper to the phone buttons, punching out the phone number. I pressed send and took a long, deep breath. When Bullet got on the line, I had to be cool, not pressed. "What's up, baby?" I asked softly, immediately noting the aggravation in the businessman's face. "Winter." "Happy birthday, girl. You official now?" Bullet was hyper and happy. "Oh, Zit, I forgot it was my birthday." "That's a first." "Thanks," I said, still playing it cool. "I'm coming to get you." "Where you at?" "I'm in Jersey." "What you doing all the way over there?" he asked. "I just came out here to do a little shopping." "You know how I do it." "Well, get something sexy." "Last year this time it was all about you driving me. This year your man got everything under control. We done elevated. What you know about a birthday in Key West?" The owner of the cell phone said, "Miss, I need my phone back." "Who that?" "Who the fuck is that? I know you ain't with no Nie." "Oh, a Nie taking you shopping." "That ain't nothing. Whatever he got, I could double it." "Shtain't, I could triple it. I'm caked up." "Winter, stop king with those small timers." "Who is that?" "He ain't nobody," I said coolly. "You damn right, he ain't nobody." "Tell that Nie to bounce, tell him." Bullet was all the way gone with anger, so I decided to play him. The phone owner's face grew red with anger as well. "Bounce, Nie," I said to the white man. "What?" He questioned me with his veins popping out of his neck. "Give me my phone." The owner grabbed for his cell phone. Jumping back from his reach, I told Bullet. I told him to bounce. "Did you hear me?" "Good," Bullet said. But the man was demanding his phone back. "Oh, what, is he beefing?" "Is the Nie beefing?" "Tell that Nie he better be gone by the time I get there, or he's a dead man. If you know what's good for you, you'll bounce before my man gets here." I told the white guy. The confused phone owner warned me. "I'm going to get security. I'm going to call the police. Pick me up at Nordstrom on Route 4 in Jersey, right over the GW Bridge. I'll be on the north side entrance. Don't worry, baby, I'm on the way. Bullet, one more thing." "Where's Key West?" "That's Florida, baby." "Don't worry about it." I followed quickly behind the irate man. I handed him his phone before he could alert the authorities, who were nowhere to be found in this little bus station. Thanks was all I said to the man, with a polite half smile. Quickly I jetted out of the bus station. I jumped on the mall shuttle, jumped out at Victoria's Secret, and dropped my last yard on some sexy lingerie. I jetted to the north entrance of Nordstrom and waited, standing with only $100 worth of Victoria's Secret goodies, my Nike bag, and the red leather Coach bag. My mouth hung open. Then I checked myself as Bullet rolled around in a cream-colored Lexus coupe. All my juices everywhere in my body leaked out with excitement. It took great concentration for me not to just jump out of my skin and go buck, dance naked on the hood of the car or something. The warmth in the car made the winter cold seem like a crude prank. I checked out every inch of the interior. Yet I knew I had to chill like I ride in one of these whips every day. My father had a car like this, but this was the new model, as my ass fit into the soft grooves of the leather seat. Bullet leaned over 2 inches from my face. "Where that knee at?" "He's been gone," I told him, going right along with it. Bullet threw the car into reverse and raced backward to the corner of the building. He peered out the tinted windows down the sidewalk lining Nordstrom. Then he shifted into drive and raced to the opposite corner, checking down the street. My imaginary lover was nowhere to be found. "You know you minds now," he said, like I was a trophy or an expensive piece of jewelry. His lips were wet, teeth white, and hair cut fresh like his barber trimmed it on the drive over here. It had been a year since I took a real good look at him. I don't know if it was his Armani leather coat, or if his body was even more buff than when I saw him last. This knee a bullet thought he had to fight to make me his girl. I'd let him believe it too. Little did he know, I was his when he pulled the whip around the bend.
This concludes Chapter 16 of The Coldest Winter Ever by Sista Souljah. Thanks for listening. Check out Picking Up the Pieces to 100 Broken Promises, available in all major bookstores, including Audible. And let me know what you think. Make sure you get a copy of Picking Up the Pieces to 100 Broken Promises, the companion workbook, to help you work and heal through your interpersonal trauma. And remember to get your copy of my gratitude journal and my medical journal to keep track of your symptoms to make sure you get the optimum care when you see your provider. Take care.